Excommunication decreed for Lefebvrite episcopal ordinations, a document signed by Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, prefect of the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, defines the rite celebrated on 1st of July as an act of a schismatic nature, with an explanatory note providing details of the grave canonical sanction of excommunication. The bishops of the priestly fraternity of St. Pius X, Alfonso de Golarita and Bernard Fellé, respectively principal consecrator and co-consecrator, and the newly consecrated bishops Pascal Schreiber, Michael Goldade, Michel Poinson de Chivry, and Marc Napier have incurred ipso facto the late sententiae excommunication reserved to the Apostolic See for having carried out an act of a schismatic nature, the episcopal consecration of 4 presbyters, without pontifical mandate and against the will of the Supreme Pontiff. This was stated in a decree released on July 2 and signed by Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, prefect of the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, and countersigned by the 2 secretaries of the same dicastery. The decision came 24 hours after the solemn ceremony celebrated in Econ, Switzerland, on the morning of July 1, 2026. The Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith's decree establishes that, in the act of carrying out the consecration, both the consecrators and those consecrated incurred the prescribed excommunication. The painful epilogue was the consequence of the decision taken by the Lefebvrites against the will repeatedly expressed by Pope Leo XIV. The excommunication newly separates the bishops and priests of the Fraternity of St. Pius X from the Church of Rome. As for the lay faithful, those who formally adhere to the fraternity are to be considered excommunicated. Further details are contained in an explanatory note, published by the Dicastery at the same time as the decree of excommunication, which is reproduced in full below. The Dicastery's note: from the time of St. Paul VI up to the most recent talks, held recently at this Dicastery, the many attempts to bring the members of the movement begun by Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre back into full communion with the Catholic Church have proved vain. This situation has been further aggravated by the recent episcopal consecration celebrated without pontifical mandate, against the will of the Holy Father, and in open violation of canon law. Therefore, this Dicastery, in the faithful exercise of the functions entrusted to it, considers it necessary to state that this act constituted the delict of schism, with the canonical consequences for the sacred ministers and lay faithful involved. Indeed, as was already declared in 1988, such disobedience, which implies in practice the rejection of the Roman primacy, constitutes a schismatic act, cf. John Paul II, Apostolic Letter Ecclesiae Dei, 3.